My name is Hiroki Matsuuchi, and you are listening to or watching Bridges, a weekly showcase of a single content creator in Japan and their content. This is episode number 32, and today we are featuring Amanda from Whoa, I'm in Japan, who is actually in Japan now. I complained about this in jest once long ago on the Bad Communication podcast when she wasn't yet in the country and yet she was running a blog called Whoa, I'm in Japan, but I can do so no more. So I'm really going to cut to the chase and jump right to her site because I actually don't think I can do as good a job introducing Amanda as she does on her About the Blog page. So, continuing along with the trend of featuring content creators who have also made appearances on the Bad Communication podcast at one point or another, let's put 10 minutes on the clock and see what we can see. Whoa, I'm in Japan, and I just keep getting schooled. About the blog. Welcome. I suppose you want to know something about me and this blog. Question number 1, why did you move to Japan? I was bored, I was tired, I looked at the life ahead of me, slowly but surely climbing the corporate ladder, locking myself into a mortgage, working that 9 to 5 for 40 years until it was time to retire. And it made my heart sink. For some, that's the dream, but to me, it just seemed like a trap. I've always had an overactive imagination, which is why I can't watch horror movies, can't sleep after, and I wanted some adventure in my life. I thought Japan. With its reputation for the unusual and beautiful, it was a good place to find it. I also wanted the challenge of immersing myself in a foreign culture. Question 2. What is this blog about? That's exactly what I was hoping to answer. Thanks, Amanda. This blog is about facing the challenge and the lessons one can learn by shifting their perspective. I did it by moving to the other side of the world, and I want to share my insights with the poor victims who will listen. Don't be too hard on yourself. As I'm transformed here, I hope my writings will inspire others to examine their beliefs and behaviors and become the best they can be too. Happy reading, and don't forget to leave a comment. Yes, it's that last part that I think is the most important. Be sure to get in touch with Amanda. She's a pretty nice gal. We've chatted at least on 2 occasions in the past. So why don't we take a look at the homepage. This is the Whoa, I'm in Japan homepage. And let's see. So on the right-hand side, we have some required reading. So why don't we check that out first? I assume this is some of her more important articles. And it looks like we have a few posts. Let's scroll down. Take these 8 pills for homesickness. This one was posted on October 22nd, which was just a few days ago. So why don't we see what this one's all about? When I first moved to Japan, there were so many new things to do and see. I had months and months of distraction. It was like some kind of illegal super immune system booster. Even the biggest earthquake in Japan's written history could barely put a dent in my enthusiasm. But a few months back, the stuff stopped working as well as it used to, and I started to feel a little under the weather. And soon, though I tried to fight through it, I couldn't deny that I definitely caught the bug. I was officially homesick. So I had a consultation with my inner doctor, and she prescribed these 8 proverbial pills. So now, I'm not going to read the descriptions, the specifics of each of these 8 remedies. I'm just going to go through the list. Number 1, embrace the loneliness. That's interesting. Number 2, don't call home. Number 3, go out. That's good advice. Number 4, watch TV, listen to music from your home country. Number 5, find something or someone to love in your new country. I would say that's probably one of the bigger ones, I think. Number 6, personalize your new space and new life. Number 7, have a good cry. And number 8, celebrate all you've learned in your new home. That's pretty good advice. And of course, in this particular post, she goes through each of those points and explains them in some depth. Again, I would highly recommend that you guys check out this post. Anyway, jumping back to her homepage, let's take a look at some of her more popular posts. So, let's see, topping the list is, whoa, I want to do that. Let's see what this one's all about. Okay. This post is part of the October Japan Sock Japan blog Matsuri. All right, well, I guess we can... this is another kind of list. So why don't we skip this one and take a look at this next post. This next post is titled, I'm one of the ugliest women on earth. Okay. I do remember this. I'm just going to read the introduction to this post because it's kind of a loaded topic. Again, if you would like to read the entire post and comment, I would encourage you all to do so. I'm one of the ugliest women on earth. Perhaps you have heard about this article by Satoshi Kanazawa titled, Why Are Black Women Rated Less Physically Attractive Than Other Women, but Black Men Are Related Better Looking Than Other Men? It was originally published in Psychology Today and has been since removed. According to the article, it is scientifically proven that I am one of the ugliest women on the planet. Isn't that lovely? Many before me have already commented on exactly why this article is not to be trusted. The science is faulty, says Nanjala Nyabola on the guardian.co.uk. And she gives some excerpts from this particular article. He fails to provide information on the sample size for his research or the social or economic factors, including race, that would have impact on his findings, so that the readers can deduce for themselves as to what extent these findings can be generalized across space and time. As some tweeters have noted, it's a classic trick in which pseudoscientists blind you with multicolored graphs and three-dimensional place figures, three decimal place figures, to convince lay readers that their research was thorough and is conclusive. I mean, who can argue with three decimal places? And Amanda goes on to say, I couldn't put it any better. However, I do wonder what the point of this article was in the first place. What was gained? What was meant to be the benefit to our understanding of human race? Kanazawa concludes with this article, and she goes on to explain her opinions about this particular piece. And I thought this was one of her more interesting ones, and probably one of her best written articles. I would say it's not so controversial because I think almost everybody can get behind the notion that this is, as she said, it's pseudoscience and certainly not something to be trusted. But she does add quite a few interesting insights into this article. But why don't we jump back and take a look at maybe something that's a little bit more, let's say, lighthearted. Why don't we go back to the required reading, which I believe is a curated list of some of her favorite posts. So this one's all about Japan, and particularly all about Japanese. So this article is titled, How Nihongo Showed Me I'm a Snob. Nihongo is the word for Japanese language, and since moving into my own apartment, I find I've been much more motivated to study my Japanese. So I've stepped up my learning, no kidding, by like 300%, where before I would study, quote-unquote, when I had time or when I felt like it, I now study for at least a half an hour a day. Tip: listening to podcasts on the train is a great way to take advantage of downtime and learn something new. For me, it's Nihongo. For you, it could be Italian, Spanish, how to start a business, the rules to extreme Pavlovian chicken toss, anything. As I study, I'm learning more about how the language works, especially the levels of politeness. This is all well and good, but the other day I went to a convenience store and I realized that when the clerk gave me my receipt, I needed to say thanks. After listening to a recent lesson about all the different ways to say thank you in Japanese, I found myself worrying about the best way to do it. Should I give a polite arigatou gozaimasu? Thank you. She's about my age, that should be okay. But she's just a convenience store clerk. Just a short domo, thanks, is all she should get. Just a clerk, all she should get. I didn't like where this train of thought was going. I was thinking the same thing. So I gave her the usual arigatou gozaimasu. I always did, and took my booze and went on my way. But it did make me think, how often am I judging how much respect people should get based on trivial things like age and occupation? Probably no more than the people are judging me. This episode took me back to a comment from one of my students a week before. I was teaching him the word connoisseur, and we somehow got to talking about the fact that I speak a minuscule amount of French, having grown up learning it in Canada. For example, I can count to 1,000 and do things like say the year, which I suppose is slightly more than the average English-speaking person in the West. But by no means can I have a meaningful conversation. Still, he was mighty impressed. Wow, you speak French. I have to be honest. Before, I just think of you as an English teacher. But now I feel you are, someone I must respect. Enlightening. I've come to learn that hierarchy is a staple of Japanese culture. It's built into the language and drives the workforce. Many students have told me that it's very rare for someone to switch jobs because at a certain age, someone should be at a certain position. So to leave and start over is very difficult. No one wants to hire someone over a certain age for an entry-level or even a mid-level position. It will throw off the whole balance of the corporation. Now, coworkers have to worry about referring to their new colleagues as Tanaka-sama because he's older than them, or Tanaka-san because they're all junior programmers. No, we can't have that. And this is just a taste of the article. She goes on to explain a little bit more, but you guys are going to have to check it out for yourself. So I want to get to one last article before we wrap up the show. And, well, why don't we go back to, how about required reading and check out one more of her curated pieces. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I hope she doesn't mind that I picked this one up. But I thought this was one of her more controversial pieces, but certainly something worth mentioning. The salary man who called me a N-word. True story. I was out and about with my friend in Shinjuku, and we were starving and looking for a place to eat. Well, Murphy's Law must have a sick sense of humor because just as we were contemplating giving in and eating at a KFC, a random salaryman comes marching through the sea of people on the sidewalk towards us, and as he's barreling by, he leans and yells, "The N-word!" "Oh my God," said my friend. "Did he just?" I kept walking, in shock. Did that really just happen? Maybe he was speaking Japanese and I didn't understand. But as the seconds passed and I kept replaying it in my head, I had to accept the tragic truth. I was a victim of a drive-by. Well, in this case, a speed walk-by hate crime. So this is another very, very fantastic story, very interesting story, and very well-written story that I cut short because I want you guys to all head over to her blog, head over to her website, and check it out for yourself. Again, this is the blog Whoa, I'm in Japan, run by Ms. Amanda Taylor, I believe. So I think that's about it. We just blew past the 10-minute mark, so I'm going to wrap things up. So thank you all again for listening to or watching episode number 32 of Bridges. Please feel free to get in touch with us over at bridges@WANWAN with any comments, questions, or suggestions for future content creators to be featured on the show. And once again, guys, my name is Hiroki Matsuuchi, and this is Bridges. Thank you for watching. See you next week. Probably.